I'd like to already introduce that the next keynote will be Ms. Ingrid Gabriela Hoven, who's the managing director of GIZ, the German Gesellschaft für Internationale Zusammenarbeit, for those of you that speak German. And it's really fantastic to have her, same as actually many of the other speakers, because the GIZ has been a fantastic partner of the Green Digital Action Track from the very beginning when we launched it ahead of COP28. So, Ms. Hoven, the stage is yours.
Okay, can you hear me? Let's see whether this works or not. Seems to be a bit complicated. Okay. Dear colleagues, dear digital and green digital enthusiasts, and colleagues that have joined us on this journey since actually COP28. And this Action Summit here in Berlin is another milestone on the road to Berlin. And I think the community is growing, the action is growing, and the lighthouse initiatives that we together initiate. I vividly remember how we opened the first Digitalization Day at COP29 in Baku, setting a milestone on digital innovation and sustainable digital infrastructure for climate action. And I can only repeat what I said then. Digital innovations, such as data-driven artificial intelligence, are a key enabler for biodiversity protection and climate action. Rising carbon emissions, resource conflicts, and e-waste. We have just heard about the societal risk of AI, not only for people, but also for the environment. Understanding these rapidly ongoing digital and green transformations as twin transitions, we must address both risks and tackle the opportunities. And this is often easier said than done because there are strong economic interests behind the different work streams. We are very proud that GIZ is among the first international cooperation agencies to systematically implement AI in its activities, especially in the area of climate action. Until today, we have created more than 50 open AI models and data sets that contribute to an inclusive, fair, ethical use of AI and data across sectors. Let me ask you something. Do you know how often you used AI-based services 2 years ago and today? These days, hundreds of millions of people use large language models for work, study, and more. ChatGPT set a record as the fastest growing consumer software in history, reaching 100 million users just 64 days after the release of the updated ChatGPT 3.5 in May 2023. Google has even integrated Gemini into its search function. So most likely, you are using AI every day. Meanwhile, low-income countries still account for less than 1% of global AI traffic. Now, in the AI age, we must use this technology to analyze vast amounts of climate data, enhance decision-making, and collaborate on climate action globally. Data-driven AI solutions can unfold transformative potential in institutions across sectors, from agriculture and forestry, energy to urban sustainability. We at GIZ, we foster the adaptation of open source data-driven AI solutions to support our partner countries in their climate mitigation, resilience, and adaptation programs. Let me give you a couple of very concrete examples from our work as an implementing organization of the German government and the European Commission. How we use AI to enhance political decision-making. The Climate Policy Analysis Assistant is an AI tool which we developed to analyze climate policy documents with a focus on net zero targets, greenhouse gas reductions, sector goals, and inclusions of vulnerable groups. This open source tool for policy analysis automates data extraction, enhances benchmarking to more inclusive, effective policy support. Now you perhaps may ask yourself, is this really important? Where is it being used? I can tell you this is a tool that was specifically developed for climate negotiations and is really very much appreciated, especially from delegations from the Global South. Why? Perhaps if the US government travels to Belém, they may have like a delegation of 100 people sitting there in the different negotiation rooms. But the delegation of Fiji is much, much smaller. And with these tools, they are more actually capacitized to quickly analyze the documents in accordance to the specific words that are very important actually to their survival. And nothing less is at stake. So these are very small tools, but they can really make a difference in very critical moments when it comes to the end game in the negotiations. And actually they help those specifically that unless they would have such a system, they would be left behind. Another example, how analyzing vast amounts of data, how can them help smallholder farmers? In Kenya, we have implemented an AI-based early warning system for food security to support smallholder farmers, in particular women, who are vulnerable to the effects of climate change. By integrating weather data, satellite images, and soil data, this system provides real-time agricultural advice on the best time to plant, irrigate, and manage crops. There again, you have heard about this. Rain patterns have changed dramatically over the last couple of years due to the climate crisis. So, and of course, traditional farmers like in Kenya, like in Africa at large, they have like a history of rain patterns in the back of their mind. In accordance of this traditional knowledge, they do agriculture. So with the new volatility, the question is, how do they adapt to the new circumstances? And the rain patterns nowadays actually, they are not stable. They change from season to season. So in these circumstances, a specific AI tool can really make a difference, because then actually the farmer has the information that they need and they can't count on historic patterns. They need fresh and reliable information. So my last example is about how we scale our local cooperation across regions. We combine AI technologies with local data and indigenous knowledge to map and classify forests based on their carbon storage capacity. The goal is to identify key areas for conservation that can help mitigate climate change. There again, forest protection is a very complex and challenging endeavor. And we have to protect specifically those areas with the highest level of biodiversity. And there again, AI can be very, very important to bring us better results and more successes. These are just a couple of AI for climate solutions we have developed with our partners, with indigenous peoples, with farmers on the ground. We pursue always people-centered approaches. And these activities that I've now illustrated to you are now being scaled from Indonesia to India and Senegal, for NDC tracking and forest conservation. And we have been already supporting many partners across Africa to leverage data-driven AI platforms to better track the implementation of their national climate contribution and climate finance. To unfold the power of AI for climate action, we have learned that it is critical to put in place strong safeguards and clear enabling conditions. For example, have you already reflected about balancing AI's environmental and climate impact with its carbon footprint, while simultaneously taking measures to minimize this footprint, such as green computing? I think what is important, we have to develop AI models as open source models whenever possible to foster global collaboration and accessibility, to bring those on board that unless we would do so, they are left behind. And we have at the same time have to address the growing AI divide and make sure that the use and adoption of AI is inclusive and we actually bring on board those that are from poorer segments of populations or that normally are marginalized, such as women. At the Hamburg Sustainability Conference in 2024, UNDP and the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, together with important stakeholders from the public and private sector, international organizations, and the civil society, set a strong foundation for advancing open and responsible AI in development cooperation and for the planet. In less than 2 weeks, at the Hamburg Sustainability Conference 2025, UNDP and the Ministry for Development Cooperation of Germany, together with its partner, and GIZ is among them, will endorse the so-called Hamburg Declaration on Responsible AI for the SDGs. My dear friends, at a time of global tension, it's more than ever so important to send a signal of collaboration, of partnership, and of policy decisions and joint efforts that really are based on fairness, inclusivity, and prosperity for all. The Hamburg Declaration on Responsible AI for the SDG is such a momentum. And I will keep you tuned about further progress in this regard. We are very glad, and this is perhaps also music to your ears, that the CODIS initiative will host a session at the HSC on responsible AI for the planet to further pave the road towards Digitalization Day at COP30 in Belém. So let me close by saying we need your support. We have actually behind us a very successful journey, but so much more has to be done. We have put actually the relationship between AI and climate on the radar screen of many policymakers. We have developed the right tools and the right partnerships. Now it's about scaling it up and making it a reality for more people on the planet. Thank you so much.